Welcome everyone to another tutorial from Code Slice. So in this tutorial we will be looking at toggle buttons. So in Kivy you also have like your toggle button widget. So a toggle button widget, it acts more like a checkbox. It's like a checkbox, a button which is more like a checkbox. So which means when you touch it or when you click on it, it stays down. Then when you click it again, and then it goes up. So it has like your you see, so like your other usual, your normal buttons that you have, when you press them, it just the state just changes from normal to down very quickly. But with the toggle button, when you press it down, it stays down. So you need to press it again in order for it to be normal again. Of course, there's also quite a number of things about toggle buttons, but we will be unfolding these things together through this tutorial. So if you have any questions after this tutorial, please do let me know in the comments section, and I will definitely get back to you as well. Yes, so let's go on and get started with creating toggle buttons. Yes, okay. So for our toggle buttons here, we will be using our Kivy file right here. So we have it. I've already set up the code. As you can see, I've already set up. I think I did explain in my earlier tutorials about the setup and all of that. So I hope that you are familiar with that. So to use a toggle button, you just simply have to say toggle button like this. Alright, so that's all, just toggle button. So let's save and run this so you can see what will appear now on our screen. Okay, as you can see, there's a button here. When you press it, as you can see, it stays down. When you press it, then it goes normal, down. When you press it again, normal. Okay, but of course it doesn't look much like a button now, because maybe we can just give it some parameters. So what can we call it? Let's call it I am a toggle button. Okay, let's give it a size. Maybe for size we can use size hint so that it can adjust itself. Okay, let's also position it. What am I doing? Center X. So what we're doing it here, we are positioning it a little bit to the top of the screen. Let's put it at top of the screen. Okay, let's run it. Okay, as you can see, we have a toggle button here. So when you press it, it stays down. When you press it again, it goes normal. When you press it, it stays down. When you press it, it goes normal. Alright, so this is basically a toggle button. Alright, so another thing about the toggle button, so when you run your code, maybe at times you might want the button to start when the app begins. Maybe you want the toggle button to be down instead of normal. So how you can do that is that you can change the state of the button when it's created. And how you do that, you simply say state, alright, and then you can say down. So by default the state is normal. When it's normal, it means like when you haven't pressed it yet. But if you want to change the state, let's say maybe for it to be down when you run the code, you can just do it as follows here. So let's go on and run this. As you can see now, what's happening, the state is down. All right, when you press it, of course the state becomes normal. When you press it, the state becomes once again it becomes down. So this is the beauty of toggle buttons. Amazing, right? So since the toggle button it's similar, it's basically a type of button. Everything else you can do with your other buttons, you can also do with toggle buttons. Like example, in my previous tutorial I spoke about how to make round buttons, how to add widgets dynamically and all of that. All of those things are things you can actually do with the toggle button as well. So I will not be repeating those tutorials using the toggle button, but you should be able to, once you've watched my previous tutorial, you should be able to do anything you want with the toggle button as well. Yeah, but if there's anything you want me to specifically explain, let me know in the comment section. Yes. All right. So of course it's quite boring, when it's just one toggle button. What if you have many toggle buttons? Can you have many toggle buttons? Yes, you can. You can have as many as you want. So let's say we now have 3 toggle buttons. So let's copy paste these. So now we have 3 toggle buttons. Alright, so maybe some we want them to start, maybe they must be normal, the state must be normal. Then for some we want the state to be down and all of that. We can do that. Okay, let's run it now and see. Okay, as you can see, our first button here, the state was normal, so it was normal, as you can see here. And then for our second button, it was down, and our third button was also down, as you can see here. So when we press it, of course, yeah, the state changes. All right, but of course this is still very much boring. But what if you don't want, maybe what if you wanna create some kind of like radio buttons, meaning only one button can be down at a time, not like this, like where 2 can be down, but you want to, you want only one button to be down at a time. How can you do that? Like for instance, when you press this one, then these 2 go up or go become normal. Then when you press, let's say, this one, and then these ones, change and stuff like that. How do you do that? So there's actually a very easy way to do this. What you do is, you need to group the buttons. You just simply say group, right? And you give the group a name. So the name you can give the group, it can be any name, it's up to you. So let's say we can group the buttons group A. So all the buttons under group A, you need to put this in them. So let's say group A as well here. Then let's say group A. All right. Yes. Okay. And then let's remove the state here. Let's remove the state. Let's remove the state. Okay. Let's remove the state. Okay. So now when we run this, as you can see, or as you will see, okay, so now let's say we press this button, the state becomes down. Now let's say we press this button. As you can see, this one by itself, the state changes because only one button can be normal at a time. I mean, one button can be down at a time. So if I press this one changes as well. When I press this one changes as well. So that is how you group buttons. Yeah. So once again, buttons of the similar group, you give them similar names. All right. So which means they will be linked to one another. All right. Yeah. So this is how you create like your radio buttons basically. All right. But of course, for some of you, this might still be boring. Maybe you want more advanced things to do with your buttons. Like, how about calling different function based on the state of the button? How you can do that, it's actually also very simple. Let me show you. So suppose we have a function here, right? Let's call this function check. Okay, of course, in order for this to work well, we will need, let's just create a new button. Let's just create a new button here. Okay, and then let's give it an ID. So if you want to manipulate buttons, it's always good to give it an ID. And instead of just having this button randomly, let's put it in a box layout. So box layout. Okay, so we have a box layout here. Okay, and let's position this box layout. Let's position it at the let's position it maybe at the, let's just give it a bigger size and position it at the bottom. I think this is okay. Okay, so what we've done is we've created a box layout, and this box layout has this button here, this toggle button, and we have a function here that we've created. But of course we haven't yet defined what will happen in this function, but we can do so now. So suppose, right, so let's say if okay, let's also give the box layout an ID as well. Let's just call it box. What am I doing? Box. Okay, so now what we can do is we can create functions for this button, right? So for instance, if self dot, let's say IDS t button 1. Okay, so meaning this button, right? So if this button, the state of that button is let's say the state maybe is down. Let's say the state is down, right? What we can do is we can call a function here. So you can put your function that you want to call when the button is down. All right. But for now, we'll just print something. Maybe what we can print is we can print state was normal, but change to down. Okay, and then if the state of course is maybe not down and it's normal, then we can call a different function, function 2, function 1. Okay, but for the sake of not making this tutorial very long, I trust everyone can just, you can put your own functions that you want to do. All right, but for now we'll just put these. So down, normal. Of course we have to call this function somehow, so we can call this function when this button is pressed. So on press root check. Okay, let's go on and run this. I hope I didn't make any mistakes. Okay, seems like I didn't make any mistakes. Okay, so this is the button that I just created. All right, so when we press the button, right, a function is called. And this function that is called is, of course, we didn't really make one, we just printed. Let me just put this here. Yeah, so it's easier to see. Just make this smaller. Okay, so when the state is down, right, what happens is this function is called. Of course, for us, we didn't really define any function, but for you, you can define the function. For example, you can define it there, or whatever you want to do. It's up to you. Yes, and then when you change the state of the button, in this case now the state is normal, what happens is the other function is called, and this function that is called, it's this one here. Yeah, this is the function that's called. All right. Yeah, so that is how you now you call a different function based on the state of the toggle button. Yes. Maybe something which might be a bit more interesting is, let's try to remove the button when the state is down. All right, so how do we do that? This is how we do. So we can create a function here. So let's say self IDS. Let's close this. We can say self IDS, right, box. All right, so the reason why we're saying IDS box is because this widget which we want to remove is inside the box. All right, so let's say box, then remove widget. All right, and what widget we want to remove? The widget we want to remove is this one here. Right, so self IDS toggle button 1. All right, so let's go on and run this and see what happens. Oh, I didn't close. Let me close the parentheses. Okay, so when I press this button, because the state is going to be down, all right, because the state is going to be down, it should call this function here. Let's see if it will work. Voila, it worked. All right, so as you can see, I made an event based on the state. All right, but what if maybe we want to remove the button only when the state goes back to normal? So instead we can remove this function here. Let's just copy it first. Control C, copy it. Control V, we paste it. Okay, and then let's just comment it out. Right, or let's just remove it, just to avoid confusions. Okay, let's run this. So now, as you can see, when the button is down, when the state is down, only this is printed here. All right, so that's why the button won't be removed, as you can see. But when the state changes again now to normal, it will be removed. Let's see. As you can see, it's removed. All right, yeah, so this is it from my side. Thank you so much for staying till the very end. Yeah, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section, and please remember to subscribe. I definitely appreciate the support that everyone has been giving me. Until next time, take care and take care.